Okay, we're ready? Yeah. Are we live?
Yes.
Who do we have online?
Mr. Lombard, Marlene. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a call to order of the Contracts Committee meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today's date is
16th.
February 16th, Wednesday. The time is noted as being 6:33 p.m. Present are myself, committee chair, and committee member Joseph Lombard. Also present are board members Albert Bennett and Joseph Sokolovic. From the staff, we have Superintendent Michael Testani, CFO Marlene Siegel, and Manager of Business Operations Tony Pires. Absent is committee member Christine Baptiste-Perez. So the first item is approval of minutes from September 23rd, 2021. I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Mr. Lombard abstains. Motion carries. Next item is discussion of possible referral to the full board to award contract to install new weight room equipment at Central High School.
Yeah.
Is this a Mr. Pires or a Tefani presentation?
No, Mr. Catalina was here a minute ago from Central High School.
Catalina.
We can talk about it.
We could talk about it if you.
Item that was put out for RFQ for a quote for the retrofitting of a fitness room for the athletics. We got 2 responses back.
Okay.
One from Perform Better and one from Total Fitness. The lowest price was for Total Fitness, so we're seeking an approval from the committee to go ahead and
How
implement.
do the two bids compare to each other?
I'm sorry?
How do the two bids compare to each other?
They were identical. We specify, we give them a list of the,
Okay.
I mean, in terms of the equipment, they're identical equipment.
Price-wise.
The Perform Better was $130, $429. And Total Fitness was $126,488.
Okay.
So just to give you a little background, obviously everyone knows that this building was renovated as new. A lot of things occurred with the contract that the construction management. So there was things that were removed from the budget of the completion of the project. I don't know how those things came about and what was decided. But the one thing that I realized when COVID hit, it did some walkthroughs here in the building. And the facility for students, not only for the athletic teams and athletic programs, but also physical education classes. We have a lot of donated items that came from another high school. There was a lot of broken equipment that was just cluttered and not able to be used or rehabbed because of the age of them. So the one thing that I thought was prudent is that we put together, as we have at Harding and we will have at Bassett, a more appropriate facility for students to be able to train for athletics and also for physical education classes. So Mr. Catalina has, as the assistant principal here, former football coach, it's a lot of experience in this area, so we put him as the point person. Really walk the vendors through what was necessary, also the removal and disposal of the old equipment that we did not want to put on our staff. So that's how we got to this.
Okay, let the record reflect that Ms. Baptiste-Perez has joined the meeting. To update you, we're talking, Ms. Baptiste-Perez, about the item related to new weight room equipment at Central High School. Quotations were solicited, 2 companies responded. Total Fitness was the lowest bid at $126,000. The other bidder was at $130,000. So I'll open up for any questions. It seems pretty straightforward. Do you have any questions, Ms. Baptiste-Perez? Or do you want to wait a minute and kind of get your bearing?
If I could have a second, but it's the lowest bid with the most options available.
They were identical. It was just a specification. We need this, 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 this. They both provided a quote for the exact same equipment.
Same equipment, everything.
Yeah.
Mr. Lombard?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion to refer this item to the full board for final approval.
So moved.
Second.
Lombard, second by Ms. Baptiste Perez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll take this up on the February 28th agenda for final approval, and then you can get your installation. Next item is discussion of possible referral to the full board to approve issuance of RFP for special education. It says auditing services. That's what I was originally told.
Yeah, you can
I'm
call
told it's review.
more of a review and audit. So
Okay.
every several years, it's prudent that we have some outside component come in and do a review of the effectiveness and efficiency of our programming for our special education programs. It hasn't been done in Bridgeport in a long time. A lot of the things as we have worked through have shown that we may be ineffective in some of our delivery of services and very inefficient because of the lack of attention that's been given in this area. So I think we can really get an outside view to come in, to come and do an assessment, a very deep assessment. I've talked to some other districts and to some providers that do this just to get an understanding of what the time frame is. And it seems anywhere from 6 to 8 months to do a thorough review. A lot of talk with focus groups, teachers, a lot of information gathering before their final reporting. So I think it's prudent that we get this going so that hopefully we have a roadmap on how to improve and be more effective, efficient to our most vulnerable students by the start of the school year.
So you're not sure when this was last done?
It's really hard to say, yeah, but definitely it's been anywhere from 6 years to a decade to God knows.
Is there best practices of when it should be done? Like in what intervals? 3 years, 5 years?
Anywhere from 3 to 7 years, possibly. I'm not going to say what, it all depends. In a district this size, I would say, 5 years because of the changeover that we've had, a significant changeover in leadership. It might be prudent to do more often. I think we have to just be careful on, there's a lot of, we're going to probably get some nationwide response to this, which I think is going to give us the best opportunity to have someone come in and give a higher level view of our programming. Just from internal review from some of our new folks in the special ed administration and myself, we can see that we have some issues that are systemic, and just would like to get a much broader view. And I think it'll be it'll provide us with a plan that we can start with what's low hanging fruit, and then what's going to take a lot more work to be able not only to save money, because that is a goal as well, but really to service kids in a more effective way that I think that we're pretty sure is not being done district-wide.
That's the way you could.
Right.
Okay. Are there any questions? Ms. Baptiste Perez?
So we're not sure when the last time it was conducted.
Not sure when the last time it was conducted, and
neither by whom it was conducted by.
we have an idea that I think it was done by CES. They do that kind of thing, but they do a lot of different things. So I'm not sure if It'd be nice to really open it up to get more of a response from other folks that do this
So you're thinking that,
and do this alone.
so you're thinking that CES was specifically selected?
I don't know how they were selected. It could have been, they could have, just because they were,
There was an RFP issued out.
Or what?
I think it was Fran was still here.
Okay.
That's how they were selected for the audit. So
I think we need to be very specific in what we're looking for, because I think we really want nuts and bolts.
Okay.
Right. I think this RFP is written in a fashion where we can be pretty open as to the selection processes. So that when we do have respondents, we can interview them, we can talk to them, and then the expectation can be set where we want it to be.
Okay.
I have
Anything
a
else?
question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Mr. Lombard?
Yeah, so is this something that is part of our expectations that we do these audits and reviews of ourselves based on any kind of state requirements?
Not state requirements, but, you know, the one area that we've been cited on in state complaints over the last 10 years, a few times, is in the area of special education. As the population of students identified with IEPs grows, and our staffing becomes stagnant, and in some cases we may be understaffed, we may be overstaffed. We don't really know. We may be utilizing staff ineffectively. So I think this will give us an idea of what we're doing well, and maybe we can capitalize on that district-wide, because I think there's pockets, but it's not consistent from our internal views right now. And I think that, you know, just from our own conversations, there are definitely some weak spots and some things that the state has brought to our attention. And I think it would be more helpful to get some outside input regarding.
So as far as you're able to determine, prior to the last one that may have been 7 or more years ago, was this a regular ongoing thing that we were consistent with doing?
No.
And it's something that you would recommend doing every about 5 years or so?
Well, maybe it depends what the roadmap that has been given to us, you know, how many years out that the recommendations would go out. Maybe not 5, but maybe 7. But I do think in a district this size, to have a regular set of eyes from the outside to provide us with input and keep us focused and targeted so that we don't start going in 9 million directions, I think would be helpful. We just don't have the staffing that other districts have, and I don't think we'll ever be able to get to that level. So I think having somebody from the outside to be able to do this is important.
Yeah. Are there other programs in our district, whatever that may be, where we do these types of regular audits and reviews? External auditors?
No.
No, not that no. I think this is the big one that most districts will do, simply because of the importance of providing the services to students that require them to be successful, and obviously the costs that go along with it. So,
Well, look at this.
Excuse me?
Did you have anything further?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Benahan, do you have questions? Mr. Scolvin?
Oh, yes, Mr. Testani, how are these, I'm trying to figure out if I should ask the next question. How are the audits going to be carried out? The audit is going to be within our school buildings and around the children, or are they going to just be off-site, doing paperwork, or?
oh, they'll review paperwork, they'll meet with teachers, they're going to meet with administrators, they may ask to meet with parents. But they will not be, you know, embedded in classrooms, you know, looking at instruction, so to speak, or talking to kids.
Because I'm looking at we don't have one of our standard insurances in here. We're more or less station insurance. So
Yeah,
generally, everybody coming into our schools, we've been requiring that in every contract.
Yeah, they won't be around kids that,
usually they're analyzing processes, they're analyzing procedures that we have in place, they're probably observing PPTs. Parents, they're probably observing evaluations, how they're written, how they're delivered, the IEPs that they develop, things of that nature.
So they're not walking around buildings while class is in session.
I don't think they'll be going to any classes now.
Can we just ensure that they're not gonna walk around if we're not gonna have that issue?
Yeah, either one or the other. Either it's going to be explicitly stated, and in which case, that level of insurance is not warranted. Or if it is a possibility, then they would need to provide that. I think it needs to be defined one way or the other.
And another thing I don't see is background checks, unless I missed it.
No, those are not included in the,
I mean,
I think the same as the insurance. I mean, if it's something where they're going to be interacting with students,
they're not.
you need the background
yeah.
checks. If not, it's not an issue.
Yeah, but
Total outside consultant reviewing.
they're gonna have access to all the student data. They're gonna have access to some data, I'm sure,
Yeah.
performing the audit, and we need to ensure that there's no
Sure.
I don't know how to say it properly.
Well, I
They
mean,
would take advantage of our,
we'll enter into some sort of agreement with whoever's chosen, and that'll all be specified in the agreement.
Right.
And we'll have it reviewed by legal. But like I said, this is not out of the ordinary.
probably include that in the contract, or they,
I was going to say, I mean, since this is an RFP, they're each going to come in with their own proposals of how they would do this. So everyone's going to be a little different. And so once you select who you're going to go with and you understand what they're going to do, like, are they going to come into a building? Are they going to review student? Now in your negotiation, you can say, look, because of what you said you were going to do in your proposal, we need you to give us this, this.
makes sense. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah,
That works.
Mr. Mayor, who's gonna sign this document? Who's in charge for sign this paper, you or Mr. Testani?
the contract for with the vendor,
Mhm.
that would be Mr. Testani.
All right. No more questions.
All right, any other questions? All right, is there a motion to recommend to the full board that we issue this RFP?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lombard. Is there a second? I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
You opposed? Okay. Discussion and possible referral to the full board to approve issuance of RFP for student transportation services. Is this a Pira's production or
Yeah, that's Ms. Siegel.
Eagle?
Take on this.
Okay, good evening to everyone.
Aye.
I believe everyone is aware that our current transportation contract with We Transport will expire on June 30th of 2022. It was a 3-year agreement, and at the time that the RFP was issued for the current contract, we were not permitted to include in the RFP any extensions beyond 3 years. We did approach the city administrative team to ask whether they would consider allowing the board to consider and possibly approve a proposal from We Transport for an extension of the current contract, provided, of course, that that proposal was cost effective and cost efficient. And despite our best efforts, the city administrative team declined the request. They indicated that in accordance with the city charter, they could not grant any exceptions, and we would be required to issue a new RFP. On a positive note, They did indicate that we are allowed at this time to include in the new RFP a provision that would allow for a 3-year agreement to be extended to 4 years or up to 5 years. And that was permitted on the expectation that the city is going to present to City Council a proposal to modify the city charter to allow for 5-year contracts. The RFP is produced in the standard template. Tony Pires, our Director of Transportation, had it reviewed by the Office of Legal Services. It should be straightforward, and we're asking for the committee to approve the issuance of the RFP so that we can secure proposals and have a vendor in place by July 1 of 22. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Pires or Testani?
No, it's
Pretty simple.
straightforward.
Are there any questions?
I'm just concerned to see what the numbers are gonna be.
Yeah.
Because, I know, one of our neighboring school districts not too far from here, was put in a position where they were not allowed to extend. They went out to bid, they received 2 bids. Current provider was 13% higher, and another provider was 23% higher. I'm hoping that because we have a good relationship with We Transport, that they will maintain a fair proposal, but
I mean, if whoever
Whoever applies.
bids on this, or proposes on this, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Hopefully, the existing couple of option years will motivate the proposers to give an efficient proposal, just for the sake of stability, because it's potentially 5 years instead of 3. But again, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and we'll make our decision. But because it is a proposal as opposed to a low bid, whatever you select, you can negotiate your final number. So if you're not quite happy, you need it to come down a little, you are allowed to negotiate it to within a number that's palatable.
That's correct.
So that's a good thing.
it's good to me.
Any other questions?
About how many players in bus and transportation space?
Well, that's a good question. Our biggest concern is that we have companies responding that are capable of handling the volume and with the quality of service that we've been accustomed to receive. So, but there's a few. There's DATCO. There's Sturm. There's We Transport. Obviously, there's First Student. So there's quite a few. But when you're accustomed to receiving a certain level of service, and when you put yourself out there you could improve, but it could certainly also get worse. So.
And is this going to be just going out on bid sake, or can we just make sure each of the major players actually get constructive receipt
Well,
of?
BidSync is our primary advertising function, but we can, the local newspaper, we can advertise in the transportation periodicals that they subscribe to, things of that nature.
Great. Thank you.
They'll know about it.
Yeah, they'll know.
It's a $22 million contract.
Any other questions?
When is the day she said it was fired?
June,
Expense.
end of the school.
End of the school.
This school year. So we need to have this really vetted out by May, the latest.
You'd have it what?
Vetted out by the time we get responses, by
Yeah.
the time we
Referral.
get all the proposals, by the time we make all our evaluations and communicate and award.
How long have we been contracted with We Transport?
We've been our provider for, I believe, 13 years.
Sounds right.
Yes, I believe 12 to 13 years would be accurate.
Who was providing transportation services before we
State law.
Laidlaw, you're right.
still exist?
I don't think in this market, but I think they're still around.
Are they? And a different,
The Laidlaw was like a multinational
Yeah.
transportation concern, so it's,
Yeah, they might.
those kinds of companies are funny. They're national, you got First Student, you got, like we is a regional one, they're based in Long Island.
Right.
Others are national, so they all develop their markets.
I will say, you know, given all the attention around transportation issues across the state when it came to the pandemic, we did not let us down. They were consistent. They were able to keep the buses going, drivers.
Question, yeah, just occurred to me. Have we ever looked at providing our own bus services and the cost of that? No, I know it's probably, I know it'd probably be astronomical, but I know some localities.
I think
It would
one-
definitely not be economical and
Okay.
it's not advisable.
You heard that from,
You could work the phone lines to take the complaints.
Alright,
How much money we were talking about?
drama?
22
the
million.
total contract's about,
Contract is 22 million. Annually, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And they never go down, they always that high.
the better is,
No, we would done so many years, at least a courtesy, trying to,
we tried.
I'm just saying.
That's what this process will do.
I know.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll,
You know, in their business, they know who their competition is, and if they feel that there's a threat,
Mm-hmm.
they'll provide an efficient proposal.
yeah, we have been able to negotiate with through extensions, and they've been very good with us in terms of minimizing the increases, but, like Ms. like the superintendent said, when we go out to bid, we always run the risk of
I know,
ourselves out.
Calibrating the market.
and I feel like, okay, you don't have no choice, guy, this is how much, you don't get
Get
it.
it, you lose everything.
No, I understand.
I know.
Yeah.
I think they are gonna be competitive, obviously, knowing that they're embedded here for so long. We're a major player for them, but
And that's another element, is that a new provider would have to make a significant investment in this area,
Right,
and it could affect their pricing. So
Right.
that's why, we've had them for like 13 years. And prior to that was Laidlaw,
they were around for a long time too.
long time. Prior to that was Chestnut Hill. And, these things, they go for 15, 20 years, and then there's an upset, and somebody takes it over. So it's not
So
uncommon.
it's due for an upset.
Potentially, possibly, but
What's the odds of city council actually making a revision to their charter for 5 years?
I think there's a good possibility of them doing that. I think the limitation of 3 years is causing such a hardship to people who are issuing RFPs for long-term contracts, that I think they realize that they really need to revise that timeframe. But that's just my observation from listening to.
but in anticipation
The
of that,
advantage of both the city and the Board of Ed for a revision to the city contract to be, city charter to be approved. It's
Right.
to everyone's advantage in that they would be able to negotiate the best rates, which are, economically desirable and in the best interests of the public.
so
and in anticipation of that, the city purchasing agent has blessed us putting 2 option years in this solicitation.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
So as long as the purchasing agent gives the okay,
but to Ms. Baptiste Perez's point, is there any discussions being presented at the city council?
I'm not sure where they are in the process. I know that the last conversation I had with the city attorney, they were drafting some language to be introduced to council,
Okay,
and they were looking to do it early year. So I'm thinking within the next month or so, they will.
oh, okay.
Will we get notified when that actually goes before city council so we can have advocacy towards it? Or,
I guess we're probably just gonna have to monitor the agendas and see when that takes place. But I suspect it's going to be happening fairly.
See if,
We can get copied on the council agenda.
city clerk can alert us when that comes on an agenda.
And we are aware of city contracts that have been extended from 3 years to 4 years or 5 years. In the case of the We Transport contract, since We Transport has been the vendor for an extended period of time, they were reluctant to offer any possibility of an exception.
Right.
They provided extension past, but because it's been such a long time, the last go around, they said, that's it. You really need to take it out. So we did.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, what's the last time we renewed the? So
This-
we've had
this was 3
transport
years.
for 13 years. And they've never issued another.
No. They've issued RFPs periodically in that time. In the earlier years, we were given permission to have a couple of option years. But as time went on and they started being the provider of record for 10 years, the purchasing agent said, you really need to put this out to bid. We can't just keep giving them extensions. So they stopped the extensions and said, you need to put this out to bid for a new RFP.
We had an addendum to the contract for the COVID rights and so forth. But those are addendums to the existing contract. Now that the term is up, they want it to be reissued up again.
So, Mr. Mayor, for exactly was the same amount, $22 million for all this year, so it was less.
Now they have escalating clauses. They have percentage of increases every year.
But now it's good to know because people, they think that BOE money, is tiny when you look at how much money it costs transportation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very shocked, it's a lot.
That's a big.
It's a big number.
And just to update, it was located, the RFP for special ed review was issued exactly 8 years ago this month.
Oh, okay. That was the last time it was done.
And Craig was the one who was
Yeah.
CES, my apologies.
Okay.
One of the rest, though.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there a motion to refer this to the full board for approval to issue?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Baptiste Perez. Second?
Second. Oh,
Second by Mr. Lombard. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that'll be on the 28th agenda as well. Discussion and possible referral to the board to award contract for athletic training services.
Mr. Denton. Mr. Denton. Just here waiting.
So the last time we met in September, we approved issuing the RFP.
Correct.
And now you've got those and
There was an RFP issued. And there was actually only one response, which was this particular entity, Select Physical Therapy,
okay.
which were the same group that was providing athletic trainers to sporting events prior to issuing the RFP. This is another case where the city purchasing ordinance require us to rebid this because of the expiration of the contract. This is like a real specific type of training for athletic events where a trainer needs to be present at every game in case of an injury. So this is kind of critical. We've been carrying this service on a monthly basis until we could get some respondents, but this is the only outfit that's responded. So
I think to Mr. Perez's point, this is one of those examples because we couldn't extend the contract and we had to go out. The price went up.
right.
What was their price? Record?
They were charging, I'm not sure what they were charging in the past. Mr. Denton would know.
I'll be right back.
And this is for a 3-year contract, no options for extension?
Yes, this is a 3-year contract with an option for 2 for,
Oh, it does have options?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe we were paying 120,000 a year. Now it's up to 130.
Okay. Well, we're waiting for Mr. Denton. Are there any questions? Or do you want to wait for him?
Are there any changes in the services? It's just a $10,000 increase.
$10,000 increase. The services will be the same.
Okay.
Is it similar to like the transportation where it's advertised to particular groups?
Yes, yes, it's on BidSync and, again, these are all advertised in the newspaper. We've actually had a record, I didn't bring it with me, but there were a number of people who viewed, we can see who views the issuance of the RFPs online on BidSync. And we can see that it's been viewed by a lot of people. A lot of people just don't want to bid on it.
Are the people, are the entities that view them actual service providers, or are they some of them services that gather these things? Like some companies paying a service.
Yeah, it's
not for this.
somewhat tough to tell what their motive is for viewing them. Some by nature of the name of the entity, you can tell that they're in that.
Sure. Yeah, they're called clipping services. They go all over and they find these things and they bring them back to the people who have retained them to see if they're interested, so that the company doesn't have to go searching for them.
Right.
But you're not able to tell what they are, whether it's a service or a provider.
Right.
Yeah. Scott?
Yes, same question as on the prior contracts. I didn't see the RFP for this one, but it's referencing it in the insurance coverage. Is there, because these are definitely in contact with students, correct?
Yes.
So I think, are there, background checks and insurance, the molestation insurance
Yeah.
included in
Well, I think-
the original fees, was it just, because if it's an
it was the
RFP, we printed from 10 years ago, or whatever, before we included them, it may not be there.
No, those are all included. They're all updated.
Yeah, that would be included in the RFP, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Dental.
In the measure.
Well, does anyone have any other questions? Based on what you heard? Somebody want to make a motion to approve referring this to the full board?
I like to wait.
That's fine, yeah.
I have a general question. I guess with other school districts, do we know how their RFPs tend to work out? Are they offering more money? Is that why it on the surface appears to have little interest if we're only getting one bid?
It's not unusual for us to get some RFPs that only have one.
Yeah, with training services.
It depends on the service. It depends on the availability of trainers. For example, there's a shortage of trainers. We had a tough time even getting select physical therapy to provide us trainers for the fall sports because there's just a shortage of them. So when we issue an RFP, we can reissue it again as many times as we like, but we're always going to be, and the need's always going to be there. So to answer your question, not always. Most of the times we get a lot of respondents, but there are certain services that are like really limited.
I think part of the issue too is that unlike, say, a Fairfield, where the services, there's a lot more work because they have a lot more sports that they offer. I think that hinders us as well. It's not as attractive because you're not sending people. It's spotty. We don't have the number of athletic teams that these other districts have. But Mr. Denton is here to help.
Sorry about that.
Well, the contract is for 3 athletic trainers,
The athletic,
high school, and it's for 3 years. 130,000 a year.
The increase from what they were charging us last year.
About 15,000. It went out to bid per the city. And it came back a little higher.
One of the questions was asked, why do you think there wasn't any other competition for this?
I'm not sure. I really don't have an answer for that. You know, probably part of it is the labor shortage. I know the winning bid, you know, they have a hard time finding athletic trainers. And I think that's pretty much across, you know, all the industries, and tough to find people. And I think that was probably part of it. But there was one company bid, that was it.
when I issue a solicitation, and on occasion, I will get, this is what I do for a living. When I get responses that are really, really small, I call the companies that I know would typically make a price, ask them, was there a particular reason why you did not choose to submit? And so I don't have the benefit of something like BidSync. We put it out in a advertising system, and we don't see who's looking at the ad or not. So we have to kind of use our intuition and say, hey, gee, you know, AECOM is a big engineering firm. Why did they not submit a proposal on this? So we reach out to them directly. But you have the benefit of knowing who looked at it. And in these kinds of instances, it might be good to call some of them, especially ones where the name indicates that they do this, and just ask them, we know you looked at it, but why did you not choose to submit? Because maybe there's something in the solicitation that makes it unattractive, so that going forward, you can correct that so that maybe you do get a little more competition. But if you don't reach out to them, you're never going to know. And it's all going to be speculation as to why they didn't bother. So I would recommend, reaching out to a few of them just to ask. You might find, a common thread among them that you can use for the future. I would strongly recommend that. Are there any other questions?
I have a question for you. When reaching out to,
For me?
Mr. Chair, in highly suggestion to reach out to potential bidders, is there a particular time frame that you've experienced in your career with doing it? Like, you make a call, hey, why didn't you bid? I guess, like, what's the realistic response time when you reach out?
No, I mean, it's really informal. Just once you get what's come in, you see what's there. If you think that it's not what you thought it should have been, in terms of volume, just reach out to the people that you think normally would have done this. You don't have to wait until you make the award or anything like that, but just to find out what's the reason why you didn't submit. Was there something in the RFP that made this unattractive to you, or what was your reasoning?
Yeah, I think that'll give good intake, especially if there seems to be just one bidder all the time in different areas. Like, how to actually promote competition in the bidding process. That way we can actually have more of something to evaluate.
Mhm.
Yeah, like somebody might have found that there was a provision in the RFP that for them was an obstacle. So it was not attractive to them. But now if you know that, then the next go round, you can make sure that you correct that so that you foster a little more competition and maybe get a better proposal at a better price. But without asking the question.
Well, I mean, just,
I mean, this doesn't stop what we're
no,
doing
no, no, I
here.
know, no,
I'm just saying.
I appreciate the feedback. I think one of the things that people need to realize, Mr. Denton, is helping out in the process here.
Yeah, I'm not being
No,
critical.
no, I'm saying this is one of the things when, at some point, a position in the district is a casualty to the budget cut. There's not that individual there that could have that time to go and make these types of calls and solicit this. So when the athletic director for the district was removed, that's become problematic. You know, Mr. Denton's been able to help out where he can. That is one of the things that over the next couple of years, we're looking to reinstate while we do have some federal dollars, because we have a lot of programs. And I don't think there's any coincidence that a lot of our athletic programs over the last few years have dropped off because we have a lack of leadership in the area of athletics district-wide. It's just, I think, something that it's not a coincidence that we had an individual who was bringing in a lot more funds through grants and other opportunities than his salary. And it was never even considered or even asked or part of the review prior to making that decision.
Just as a general practice, I think when you only get one response, somebody needs to ask a
I
question.
agree.
What, one other, I know like,
Because the other scary thing is, what if you got nothing?
well, I know several of the surrounding districts, they're kind of faced with the same problem. And a lot of them, they hire a trainer directly on their staff. That's another, maybe down the road, something we could look at.
It's a lot easier when you have one high school. You know, Darien High School has one train. They hire a trainer, handles all their athletic training.
Side note, we've had discussions with some orthopedic doctors, and we've actually asked, as part of your group, would you offer, to be interested in this service, and they don't even want to touch it. They want to get the patients, but they don't want to have the training services. So
They want the referral of the injured athlete to
it's kind of,
provide medical attention, but they don't want to be there providing the training services. Correct. It's not worth it.
but I do agree with you that, we might be able to, for other services, this one's kind of unique, that we can have as a matter of practice to kind of.
Like I said, if you want something that you did not anticipate such a low level of participation, it's worth it to find out, because there might be something wrong that you have no idea. Put something so onerous in it, we had no idea it was there, and it scared everybody. But anyway, any other questions?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Question, this is 130 million, sorry, $130,000. I was talking about million before. That's included the 12 months or 10 months?
10 months.
10 months? Yeah, no more question.
How much would it cost to have one trainer at each school in comparison?
Well, the problem with us hiring a full-time trainer would be we need 3 right at
The same
those
time,
couple
yeah.
hours after school. So it'd be a little more difficult if we didn't have a way we could utilize them outside of that athletic window period. We would essentially need 3 part-time trainers, and then we're left with the same problem that these vendors have. They're hard to fill the jobs.
So this is select therapy. That's the
Yeah.
group that,
Like physical therapy.
so that these folks are providing physical therapy at a location,
And that's part of it.
and that's part of, right, that's part of their job then.
Yeah, allocation of services probably.
So we're getting 3 part-time trainers plus outside services for injuries and things like that.
They've been with us for several years, and they're a good group. We haven't had any issues with them.
Anything else? Okay. Someone want to make a motion to refer this to the full board? Anyone?
Make a motion to refer this I'm sorry, was it RFP or already contract?
This is to award a contract for
Award the
athletic training.
contract. I apologize. I didn't see it on the agenda, so I didn't know how to word it. So the motion to move to the full board to award the contract for the athletic services.
Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Baptiste Perez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this will be on the February 28th agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Baptiste Perez,
Second.
second by Mr. Lombard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Time is 7:20.
Good night.